Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We've gotten through the DS. I guess we'll review that real quick. The Yankees ended up going over the Royals. Cleveland ended up beating Detroit in the AL, and then the Dodgers beat the Padres. They had the back against the wall there, down 2-1, and then the Padres didn't score for Game 4 and Game 5. So,
Yep.
and the Mets, I guess you could say surprisingly, they've been super hot. They beat the Phillies. Francisco Lindor hit a dramatic grand slam in game 4, I believe.
Yep.
Um, yeah, but it was a really good DS. A little bit surprising. Some of these series, like that Cleveland Detroit series, was an unreal series. Obviously, give flowers to Lane Thomas as well. He hit a big grand slam in game 5 for the Guards off Tarek Skubal, who will probably win the Cy Young this year. But out of
Yep.
all four of these matchups that we saw, which one was your favorite?
I actually really enjoyed Cleveland and Detroit. And full credit to Detroit. Hell of a run. Not many people even picked them to be in the playoffs, let alone to have two chances to eliminate the Cleveland Guardians, including one game at home. That series came really down to two swings by Lane Thomas. He had a big three-run homer in game 1, and he hit that grand slam like you just mentioned in game 5. And if you're a Tigers fan, um, you gotta like. Obviously, you don't like that you lost, but you went down with the best guy on the mound, right? They didn't lose it blowing a bullpen game. Like Tariq Skubal was been the guy all year. He allowed a run. I think he had like 27 consecutive scoreless innings going into that elimination game. So, I mean, if you're a Tigers fan, you kind of like your chances there, but yeah, unfortunate end to their season, but KC even pushed the Yankees harder than I thought. Like they scored a lot more runs than I expected they would. And yeah, I think the Mets beating Philly is a big surprise. Yeah, Philly just kind of just came out flat. And then that Dodgers series, yeah, San Diego had them on the ropes. And when you got good teams like that on the ropes, man, you can't miss your knockout punches, right? They didn't have Freddie Freeman in game 4, and the bats just went silent in the last couple games there. But full credit to the Dodgers. That's why they've been so good. They've been a resilient group, and full credit to them as well.
Yeah, I think if Bobby Witt would have swung it a little bit better in that Yankees KC series, maybe
Yeah.
Kansas City could have snuck by.
Hmm.
But their star, first time in the playoffs for him, obviously. Um, he did well in that wild card series against the O's. He got him here. But then just the Yanks, he was kind of quiet. So good taste of the postseason for Bobby Witt. Obviously,
Yep.
Detroit breaking 10-year drought, getting their young guys some experience as well. I think that'll probably play dividends in the upcoming years here. So if you're fans of either of those fan bases, I'm sure you're pretty happy with the season.
Hmm.
Obviously losing the playoffs is always tough, but it was a good ride for both of those teams.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, let's get to the championship series. We'll start in the National League. We are recording this on Sunday night. We did
Yep.
make our picks prior to this video, but one game has already been played. Well, I'll just go ahead and say
Yep.
the Dodgers won 9-0 tonight. It wasn't even close.
Yep.
Kodai Senga was on the mound. That's their best arm, even though he hasn't pitched much this year, if at all, pretty much.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't a good showing for the Mets. Obviously, not scoring. It's 3 straight games for the Dodgers pitching without giving up a run. That would be 33 straight innings pitched.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I mean, they've met 3 other times in the playoffs.
Yep.
The Mets in 2015 won 3 games to 2. 2006, the Mets won 3 games to none, a sweep there. And then in '88 was the only CS matchup
Yep.
where the Dodgers won 4 of 7 there. So have been close series for the most part. Obviously, 1988 was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But this Dodgers team is unreal. Um, the Mets have been having a great season, and it's not over yet.
Yep.
But I'm just gonna fast forward to my prediction here. I have the Dodgers making the World Series. I mean, it's not a bold take.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, what do you think after seeing tonight's matchup, and then obviously prior to the game today. Go ahead and share
Yeah,
your pick.
I actually don't mind the Mets in this situation because I just feel like the Mets are kind of playing with some house money here, right? They're in the NLCS. All the pressure in the world is on the Dodgers to get back to the World Series. Um, 1988 was the last World Series they went to. That was a full season, right? They went to the World Series in that COVID shortened year in 2020, beat the Rays, but with the talent there, the Mets have been a resilient team since the whole second half of the year, even into the playoffs. You could say they've been outmatched on paper in almost every series they've been in, right? I mean, you go into game two, it's probably Mania versus possibly Bueller, who hasn't been very good all season. Um, if you get game two there, you go back to Queens 1-1, anything can really happen. You're not really in trouble in a series, especially in best of a seven, till you lose a game at home. So the Mets are. It's obviously not a deal to lose 9-0 in game one, but um, yeah, like the resiliency of this team, their ability to string hits together in clutch moments. Today was actually the first time in the playoffs that they lost when not scoring first. They were 4-0 trailing in the playoffs, which is remarkable in itself. But like I obviously the Dodgers on paper probably win this series, but if the Mets won, I wouldn't be surprised either. Like they've been a
Yeah,
scrappy bunch.
I'm gonna push back a little bit. I don't think this is really house money for the Mets. They have one of the highest payrolls in the
Yeah.
league. So yeah, we could talk about what a great season it was. They've battled adversity multiple times. They've got
Yeah,
here. They have a high payroll. I mean, the
that's
pitching
fair.
on paper hasn't been great, but
Yeah.
they've invested money into this team, whether those contracts have worked out or not.
Yeah.
They're still a big market team. I don't view them the same as like Kansas City or Detroit on the other side.
Hmm.
Pretty much all four National League teams. I mean, if you look at it, Phillies pay their guys. Obviously, the Dodgers do. San Diego has Machado, Tatis, etc. around them. Darvish, Musgrove,
Yeah.
Cease. They're not like they pay their guys too, right? So all four National League teams are big swingers here. I mean, we didn't see any small market teams really get into the DS. So I'm gonna push back on that. I don't think that like this is just house money. I mean, you're Steve Cohen bought this team with dreams of winning in the postseason, winning World Series.
Yeah.
They did trade Max Scherzer last year and told Max Scherzer we have no plans of competing in 2024.
Yeah. It's
Uh, Obviously, they felt like they had the talent in that room already. I
yeah.
mean, at least in the lineup side. I mean, you have Nimmo, you have Lindor, you have Alonso. McNeil's been banged up this year. You have Marte. Mark Vientos has been great coming up.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like. I mean, I get your point of saying it's house money. Who would have thought the Mets were going to be here this
Right.
year?
That's kind of the
But
area, that kind of the track I was going. But yeah, I guess I really didn't take the payroll into consideration. They got a lot of that payroll is a lot of dead money too. Verlander, right? Scherzer, a lot. So yeah, incredible run. It should be a good series though, for sure.
so are you taking the Mets or are you taking
I'm
the
gonna take the
Dodgers?
Mets. I'm gonna take the Mets.
So you think the Mets are going to the World Series?
I think so. I
All
do.
right, we shall see. Uh, Even though Freddie Freeman's banged up, before we get to the American League, just bets Freeman Otani.
Yeah,
I think
Betts is
that's
on
just
another planet right now, man. He had a long long O for, right? And then he hit those back-to-back home runs the first inning against the Padres. Um but yeah, just go back on the Padres for a second. What a missed opportunity this year for them. Just had them on the ropes. Could have went to the NLCS, but Dodgers show why they're worth here.
yeah. I think this is Shohei Otani's series. He already balled out tonight,
Yep.
had some RBIs, drilled the ball off the wall.
Yep.
Um, he's gonna be the difference maker if he's swinging it like he was at the back half of the season. Uh, I think it's gonna be tough for the Mets to pull this thing off. But I
Yep.
guess let's go over the American League. Blake's taking the Mets. I'm taking the Dodgers in the National League side. And in the American League, we have the Yanks versus the Guardians. They've met 6 times in the playoffs.
Yep.
This year, the Yankees have taken 4 of 6 games. But in those 6 matchups, they met in 1997. Cleveland won in the DS 3 games to 2. In 1998, the CS Yankees won 4 games to 2. 2007, DS Cleveland won 3 games to 1. And then the last 3 times, 2017, 2020, and 2022. The Yankees have taken care of business against the Guardians.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I mean, to me, it's just again the firepower of Judge and Soto. Um, I would even throw Stanton in there because he has the flair of hitting big home runs. We saw that in the DS.
Yep.
Obviously, Lane Thomas has been going off in the other DS series, and then you have Jose Ramirez, who I don't even think you should say he's underrated anymore.
No,
He's a
no.
dude.
Yeah.
Um, Naylor. What it's going to come down to is the games in Yankee Stadium. Are those lefties going to hit it out of the ballpark? Like, is
Yep.
Naylor going to have a big homer? We've seen him have some flair in the postseason before.
Against Cole
Um,
too. Against Cole.
yeah, so that's going to be a fun matchup to see how what happens there. Um, you know, Andres Gimenez isn't a guy that really swings for power, but he's got a little juice there. Can he pop one out of Yankee Stadium? Um, yeah, I'm just looking at those lefties. Like, can those lefties play in this Yankee Stadium series? It's gonna be Alex Cobb going game 1
Yep.
against Carlos Rodon, and with the lefty going with Rodon, I mean, obviously you'll have Ramirez, who's a switch hitter. You would assume that Naylor would still play, but it's a lefty matchup, and then
Juan will
Jimenez
probably
lefty
play too.
Juan
Yep.
lefty matchup. So
Yep.
um, maybe this is a game that Rodon can really flourish in. Alex Cobb, he's been there before. He's a seasoned vet. Game 2 is lining up Bybee versus Cole, and I think the Yankees went with Schmidt and Hill in three
Yep.
and four.
Yep.
I would assume you'd see a Matt Boyd in this series because he pitched in the DS. Um, but that's really the only lefty that they have to target, Soto. I don't believe Rizzo's coming back for this series, right?
No.
Um, Soto's in there, Verdugo's in there. Um, you know, it's just one of those series that I think the lefties are going to be the difference maker.
Yeah. Do you worry about Judge in the playoffs right now? Like he's oh
No.
man, so watching some of his ABs, man, like it's just he struggles. He's been struggling in the playoffs, but he all it takes for him is one swing, right? He's the
Yep.
big difference maker for them. Obviously, the guy to watch for me is Soto. I think he's just he's already been incredible in the postseason, dating back to the Mets days, right? Or not Mets, Nats, sorry. And I just think that Cleveland doesn't have the starting pitching depth to compete in a 7 game series. I think that the Yankees have a clear edge depth wise in the lineup and starting pitching wise. I think the edge goes to the Guardians pen. I like their pen more than the Yankees, but the starting pitching in the lineup wise, it's clear edge to the Yankees.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to get to that pen, right? I mean,
Yeah.
um, yeah, at the end of the day, like I said, to list, two more, you got Wells in there, you got Cabrera in there.
Yeah.
They got 2 righties on the mound in Yankee Stadium. That's the opportunity I feel like. You got Rodon going for you in game 1, so it neutralizes their lefties, you would think. And then in game 2, you got your ace and Garrett Cole. So I can realistically see a 2-0 series lead from the Yankees going back to Cleveland. Um, I'm not counting Cleveland out because
Yep.
they've been a consistent team all season. But I really do feel like whoever can bop the ball out of the ballpark more is going to win this series. And obviously, if you line up both lineups, it's going to be the Yankees that are hitting more home runs, at least in the regular season um, and on paper. So
What
that's where I'm leaning. But
what storyline do you like better? New York in the World Series, or the Dodgers against the Yankees? Like both two pretty good stories, right? New York, but obviously Judge versus Otani, that's got to be the storyline there, right?
Yeah, you just hit it on the head. I mean, I've said this. You've been watching our videos the past three, four videos. Otani versus Judge, Soto, Betts, Freeman, Stanton.
Yeah,
I mean, there. I mean, what is there more to want? I mean, even just, I think that's just gonna obviously two big markets, New York. As long as the Yankees go, you're gonna either get New York, New York, you're gonna get New York, and the Dodgers, like you said.
yeah,
Um, but just think about if the Dodgers made it. Just think about Japan. The
yeah,
numbers in Japan.
yeah.
Yamamoto is going to be pitched in that series too.
Hmm.
I just think it'll be do all time numbers probably. It's something that the fans probably want. I know as a fan of baseball, that's what I want to see. Not to knock last year's World Series with the D-backs and the Rangers, and I know that they got Seager and Semien and Corbin Carroll, awesome, but they're just
It's not
Yankees
the same.
Dodgers
It's
is
not the
not
same.
D-backs and Rangers.
Yeah,
So, um, yeah, I think both teams are due. Yankees haven't been to a World Series since 2009. Dodgers won 2020. Depending on what side of the fence you sit on, you might say it's a legitimate championship. You might say it's not.
yeah,
Um, so I think those two meeting up is is a baseball fan's dream at this point.
yeah,
And I think it's something that the game it would do really well for the game and where it's at. It's an exciting brand of baseball.
yeah,
And some people haven't jumped back into baseball with the pitch clock or the bigger bases, the more stolen bases that are happening. I think you'll get more neutral fans to watch this World Series and see how fun the game is right now.
yeah.
So, um, not that I'm rooting against the Mets or the Guards, but you know, if I had my perfect fit, it would be Otani versus Judge, Yankees versus Dodgers.
Yeah, and just to go back, like even go back to that NLDS game five, Yamamoto got tabbed to start that game. That was a huge spot for him. And that's one of the biggest starts of his MLB career, right? I mean, you go all the way back, first game of the year overseas, he got lit up, right? And that was another big game over there and another big spot. He twirled a gem. So that was good to see. Worry a little bit about the Dodgers starting pitching a little bit. It's a little thin, but it should be a great series in both NLCS and the ALCS.
Yep. So ultimately, I have Yanks and Dodgers, and Blake's got Mets and Yankees, right?
Yep.
So neither of us are taking the Guardians. Guardians fans, don't be too mad at us. I think you guys are. I think the Guardians are a good team. I just think that at the end of the day, unless you're gonna beat them with bunts and hit and runs and get guys on base, which can happen. Um, I just don't see the star power obviously lining up, and in this type of playoffs, evidently, it seems like those teams are winning right now. So,
Yep. No, I don't got much to add. Should be an awesome playoffs.
alrighty. Yeah, and that's gonna do it for this one. If you like this video, make sure you hit this like and subscribe. What are we at? Like 2,400 subs, almost
Almost at
2,500.
26. Yeah, it's
Oh
crazy.
man.
It's growing a
Yeah,
lot.
so it's growing. Obviously, we want to get like 3,000 potentially by the off season when we relaunch this. We had 150.
Yeah.
And this season we've, eclipsed over 2,000 subs, which has been a great achievement for us. Just gonna keep it growing. It's not too serious. We're just giving our opinions and we both obviously love the game and yeah, we're just gonna keep this thing rolling and excited to get to the off season, even though, enjoy the playoffs, but
Both of our
there's gonna
teams
be
suck. Both of our
yeah,
teams suck.
there's gonna be a lot of content. We only got half off season last year. I'm just really excited about the things we can do. So
Yep.
yeah, it's gonna do it for this one. As always, appreciate you guys for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Later.